Hey everyone, Skyman here with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about a pretty major leak about Nvidia's upcoming 3000 series GPUs, namely the 3080 and 3090 video cards. So about a week ago I saw some information and photos about this leak. I didn't think it was anything major or anything really worth making a video about because I wasn't sure it was legit or real or whatever. It wasn't until I saw more and more people discussing it on forums and major journalism sites like PC Gamer and news websites discussing it and YouTubers making videos on it that I thought, this is probably a real thing. So I'm going to give credit, before I start this whole thing, I'm going to give the credit to Igor's lab for this. I'm going to put a link to his article in the description of this video, so feel free to check that out and give him all the traffic that he deserves for this. But it definitely looks interesting, so without further ado, I'm going to show you a photo of what the front of the graphics card looks like, and here it is, in all its glory. So when I first saw this image, it kind of reminded me of the reference blower cooler design that Nvidia used up until their Pascal 10 series cards. You know, the one with only one fan on one end of the GPU that would take air in through that fan and blow the air all the way down through the chassis and through those metal heat fins, and the heat would be dissipated through the front of the graphics card, you know, the bit that's outside of your PC. But anyway, that was my impression until I saw some photos of the back side, you know, the rear end of the card. This photo in particular. For me, the interesting thing about this is that they are using a much shorter PCB, and the GPU actually has two fans instead of what looked like only one fan in the other photo. That means there is one fan on each side. As far as I am aware, no graphics card cooler has ever had this kind of design. Please feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that, but I have never seen anything like this on a graphics card before. And for as long as I can remember, air-cooled graphics cards either had a blower design, you know, like the picture I showed you earlier in the GeForce 10 series, or an open design, like most of the third-party ones that we see today from the add-in board partners. But Nvidia putting a fan on each side of the graphics card, they have to have a reason for this. It can't just be for looks, I wouldn't imagine, because changing something like that must make quite a big difference to the thermal performance of that cooler. Many people, and journalists included actually, have called this ugly, but you know, I don't think most PC gamers actually really care too much about how this will look. Put it this way, right? What most people want is superior cooling performance, quieter coolers, and in some cases lower power consumption as well. But speaking of power consumption, these graphics cards look like they are going to need a very beefy PSU in order to run efficiently. I'm about to show you a chart from Igor's lab. You should be seeing that on your screen right now, which gives us a good rundown of all of the leaked graphics cards. So this chart has the models, extension, how much memory they have, TDP, connectors on the back, and their interfaces. So here we have the supposed RTX 3080, another RTX 3080, which is possibly a TI or Super Edition, and an RTX 3090, also possibly a TI or Super Edition. These graphics cards all have a TDP of over 300 watts, and the 3090 has one of an eye-watering 350 watts. That is pretty beefy, which suggests to me, at least, that they are looking to make a serious jump in performance over the 2080 Ti, especially with this 3090, which could potentially also be a Ti or Super card. To give you a rough idea of how much more power these cards will use, the RTX 2080 Ti has a TDP of 250 watts. That is 100 watts less than what these new 3000 series cards supposedly will, what their max power draw will be. And since graphics cards generally become more power efficient with every generation, the 3090 is shaping up to be a seriously powerful card if these leaks are true. Especially when you consider that there have also been leaks about Nvidia shrinking their production process down to 7 nanometers, whereas the most recent generation, as we know, the 2000 series cards, used a 14 nanometer process. Shrinking your die generally translates to better power efficiency, We can see this from AMD's Zen 2 processors, you know, the 3000 series. I have a 3700X, 7nm, doesn't use very much power at all, considering the power that you can get out of that thing. So if Nvidia shrink the process and these cards use more power than last generation, even though they should be more power efficient with, you know, that smaller 7nm process, when you take all of that into account, that should mean it will be a seriously powerful card if all these leaks are true. It's going to be a monster. To add to all of that, we must talk about how the 3090, again, could be a Ti or a Super, but 3090 has a whopping 24 gigabytes of GDDR6X video memory on board. That's over double the 11 gigabytes that the RTX 3080 Ti has. Could Nvidia be stepping it up this much in one generation because they are feeling threatened by AMD's upcoming big Navi cards? Well, in my opinion, the new naming scheme suggests this. We have never had a 90 Ti card from Nvidia as far as I am aware. We have had a GTX 690, you know, that dual GPU that came out around 8 years ago. So this new 90 Ti naming scheme is supposed to tell us that this new card is a big deal, meaning it's probably going to be an absolute beast. Just tell me what you think about that in the comments. So all of this might mean that Nvidia are looking to release their top tier graphics cards first, with the 3070 and 3060 ones potentially coming out a little bit later. However, you know, I could be wrong, as it was the only information about the high-end graphics cards that leaked out on the Igor website. Maybe they are planning on releasing them all at once, I don't know. But moving on to my speculation about the price, I will quote the Igor's Lab article here. It says, "Speaking of coolers, the industry is currently offering a production price of $150 for the entire Founders Edition design, i.e. housing and cooler in one piece. This then also suggests the positioning and pricing of the Founders Edition, which is to be significantly upgraded. If this cooler costs a whole $150 just to make for the cooler alone, nothing else, we could be looking at some seriously expensive graphics cards here, at least for the Founders Edition anyway, as it kind of makes sense because if they're spending $150 on this cooler, Nvidia are going to want a big return on investment for those pricey coolers. But if they can justify that with fantastic cooling performance and a quieter design, I think that the enthusiasts who this will be aimed at will be perfectly happy, and they will be happy to pay that price, and they will eat all this up. So that begs the question, when can we expect these to be announced? I'm personally going to say August for a formal announcement, because that is when the RTX 2000 series cards were announced. They were then released in September of 2018, and usually when these leaks come out for computer hardware, that's usually a pretty good sign that a formal announcement is going to be soon. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.